Jordan Miles hated fluorescent lights, not because they were ugly, though they were, but because they made everything feel like an interrogation. They brightened skin the wrong way. They amplified every tired line under your eyes. They made you feel guilty for being human, guilty for taking up space, guilty for needing anything at all. The outpatient clinic lobby was drenched in that kind of light. White walls, white ceiling tiles, white chairs bolted to the floor in neat rows like the room expected trouble. A muted TV looped a health segment with subtitles on, something about heart-healthy diets, while a scrolling banner at the bottom warned about late cancellations and missed appointments. Jordan stood just inside the sliding doors, one hand gripping his phone, the other resting on the strap of his work bag. He took a slow breath and tried to unclench his jaw. His shoulder still hurt. Not the ordinary, slept funny kind of pain, the kind that sat deep in the joint and radiated down his arm in an unpredictable pattern. Sometimes a dull ache, sometimes a hot, electrical sting that made him wince in public and then pretend he hadn't. 2 weeks earlier, he'd lifted a heavy box at his job and felt something shift wrong. He tried to shake it off, tried ice packs, tried stretches, tried sleeping on the other side. Then he finally did what his mother always told him to do. Don't tough it out until it gets worse, and went to his primary care doctor. His doctor, Dr. Priya Nandakumar, had taken one look at the limited range of motion and the swelling and said, "I'm sending you to orthopedics. I'm putting in a referral today." Jordan remembered how relieved he'd been at that sentence. A plan, a path forward, a reason to believe the pain would end. He'd received an appointment confirmation from Lakeview Specialty Clinic the next day, with a time and a reminder to arrive early. That morning, he'd made coffee he barely drank, drove across town with his shoulder throbbing every time he turned the steering wheel, and parked in the clinic's crowded lot after circling twice. Now he was here. He approached the front desk. Behind it sat a woman with straight blonde hair, cut in a sharp bob, a white cardigan over a pale blouse, and a lanyard clipped so neatly it looked like it had been measured. Her name tag read, Kendra. Front desk, she was typing with quick, rhythmic taps, not looking up until Jordan reached the counter. Her eyes moved over him in a brief scan, face, clothes, bag, then landed on his phone as if it was already suspicious. "Name?" she asked. "Jordan Miles," he said. "I have an appointment at 10. Kendra's fingers paused for a fraction of a second, then resumed. "Date of birth?" He gave it. She typed again. Clicked. Typed. Jordan watched her face for cues. Receptionists had a certain look when they were about to say something annoying, a kind of tightness around the mouth, the slight lift of the chin. Kendra made that look. "I see the appointment," she said, "but there's no referral on file." Jordan blinked once. "No referral." "No referral," Kendra repeated, like she was reading a rule off the wall. "Specialty appointments require a referral. We can't check you in without it." Jordan's shoulder pulsed, a steady ache that flared when his posture shifted. He kept his expression neutral. "My primary care doctor sent it," he said. "She entered it 2 weeks ago. That's what this appointment is for." Kendra shrugged lightly, eyes back on her screen. "I can only go by what's here." Jordan lifted his phone. "I have the appointment confirmation from your clinic. It came through after my doctor said she submitted the referral." Kendra didn't look at his phone. Not really. Her gaze touched the screen for a moment and slid away, as if acknowledging it would complicate her life. "That email just means the appointment was scheduled," she said. "It doesn't mean we have a referral." Jordan's stomach tightened. "Okay, so what happens now?" Kendra's voice stayed flat. "You'll need to contact your primary care office and have them resend the referral. Then we can reschedule you." Jordan stared at her. "Reschedule?" "Yes," she said, already turning slightly as if the conversation were done. "We're booked out." Jordan forced himself to stay calm. He'd learned the hard way that calm wasn't just a personality trait. It was armor. It was a survival strategy. It was the difference between being treated like a person with a problem and being treated like a problem person. He lowered his phone and spoke evenly. "Kendra, I took time off work for this. I'm in pain. I was told the referral was sent. Can you check again? Maybe under the doctor's name." "Dr. Priya Nandakumar." Kendra sighed, loud enough to be heard, the kind of sigh meant to instruct you in your place. "I already checked, sir." "Sir." Jordan felt the word like distance, like a subtle downgrade. He wasn't Mr. Miles. He wasn't Jordan. He was Sir, a generic label that made it easier to dismiss him. He kept his tone respectful. "Could you check the EHR message thread? Sometimes referrals are attached in the communication log." Kendra finally looked up, eyebrows lifting slightly with something that could have been surprise or irritation. Maybe both. "The message thread," she repeated, as if Jordan had used a word he shouldn't know. Jordan nodded. "Yes, the portal messages. My doctor said she'd send the referral to your clinic. If it's in the system, it should show in the EHR communication." Kendra's eyes narrowed. "We don't have time to dig through messages for every patient." Jordan's jaw tightened. His shoulder twinged as his body responded to tension. He forced a slow breath. "I'm not asking you to dig through every patient," he said gently. "I'm asking you to check mine. I'm here. The appointment exists. The referral should be attached." Kendra stared at him for a beat. Then she tapped her keyboard again with an exaggerated sharpness. "Primary care offices mess these up all the time," she said. Jordan held her gaze. "My office doesn't. Dr. Nandakumar is thorough. She showed me the referral order on her screen." Kendra's mouth tightened. "Well, it's not here." Jordan felt heat rise in his chest, not rage, not yet, but that familiar mix of frustration and disbelief when you're being told your reality doesn't count. He glanced around the waiting room. Mostly white faces. A tall white man in a fleece vest with a smartwatch scrolling through his phone. A white older woman with a floral scarf clutching a folder. A young white couple whispering, their knees touching. None of them seemed to be fighting to prove they belonged here. Jordan wondered, briefly, bitterly, if they had to prove it as often as he did. He turned back to Kendra. "Is there a supervisor?" Jordan asked. Kendra's eyes hardened. "Our policy is—" "I'm not asking about policy," Jordan interrupted softly, careful not to raise his voice. "I'm asking if there's someone who can help resolve this today." Kendra stared at him as if he'd personally offended her by expecting competence. Then she leaned back slightly and folded her hands. "If you don't have a referral, we can't see you. That's the end of it." Jordan felt the trap closing. It wasn't just the missing referral. It was the certainty in her tone. The way she said it, like Jordan should be embarrassed for even questioning her. Like he was trying to cheat the system. He lifted his phone again and opened the patient portal app. He scrolled to a message from Dr. Nandakumar's office. The subject line read, "Orthopedics Referral." Sent beneath it was a short note. "Referral submitted to Lakeview Specialty Clinic. If you have trouble checking in, ask them to review the EHR communication thread." Jordan's thumb hovered over the screen as he felt a cold, clear determination settle into him. Receipts. He'd learned to keep them too. Jordan angled the phone toward Kendra. "Here," he said. "This is from my doctor. It says the referral was submitted to your clinic. It says to check the EHR communication thread." Kendra looked at the phone this time, really looked, and her lips pressed together. "That doesn't prove anything," she said quickly. Jordan stared. "It proves my doctor sent it." It proves your doctor says she sent it, Kendra corrected, voice turning sharper. Jordan's fingers tightened around his phone. He could feel his heartbeat in his ears now. He kept his voice even, but firmer. Then please open the message thread and confirm. If it's not there, I'll call my doctor's office from the lobby. But I need you to check. Kendra's eyes flicked to the line behind Jordan. Two people waiting now, shifting and sighing like his problem was their burden. Then she looked at Jordan again, and something in her expression changed. Not empathy, something closer to annoyance that she couldn't dismiss him as easily as she wanted. I told you, she said, lower now. We can't check you in without a referral. Jordan leaned in just slightly, not invading her space, just refusing to be pushed back. And I'm telling you the referral is in your system. Please verify it. Kendra's cheeks flushed. She reached under the desk, pressed a button, and said into a small microphone, Megan, can you come to the front? The name landed like a new variable in an equation. Jordan stood still, shoulders squared, phone still in his hand. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The TV murmured about vitamins and wellness. The waiting room listened without pretending not to. And Jordan realized something that made his throat tighten. In this building, his pain wasn't enough. His time wasn't enough. His appointment confirmation wasn't enough. Only a systems record, only a thread loaded on a screen, would be considered real. Footsteps approached from the hallway behind the desk. A woman emerged, white, late 30s, dark hair pulled into a sleek bun, wearing a badge that read, Megan, Patient Services Supervisor. Megan's eyes swept from Kendra to Jordan, measuring the situation in a single glance. What's going on? Megan asked. Kendra's answer came fast, practiced, shaped, to make Jordan sound like the problem. He doesn't have a referral, and he's insisting we check him in anyway. Jordan felt the unfairness of it like pressure on his chest. He lifted his phone slightly, not as a threat, just as proof. That's not what I said, Jordan told Megan calmly. I have an appointment. My doctor sent the referral. Kendra says it's not on file. I'm asking them to load the EHR message thread because referrals are sometimes attached there. Megan's expression tightened at the words, message thread. Just slightly. Like she understood exactly what Jordan meant. Kendra interjected quickly. We don't have time to go through messages for every person who comes in. Megan held up a hand, silencing her without looking away from Jordan. Jordan watched Megan's face carefully. She wasn't smiling, but she wasn't dismissive either. She looked cautious, like she was deciding whether to treat Jordan as a nuisance or a patient. Jordan held her gaze and kept his voice steady. I'm not trying to cause trouble. I'm trying to get care. If the referral isn't there, I'll handle it. But I need you to verify. Megan nodded once, slow. Okay. Kendra's head snapped toward her. Megan. Megan's tone cooled. Open his chart. Kendra's fingers hesitated on the keyboard. Megan's eyes flicked to Kendra. Now. Kendra clicked, typed, clicked again, movement suddenly less confident. Jordan's heart beat once, heavy, because the next thing that happened would tell him everything. Either the thread would load and the referral would be there, proving Jordan right, or it wouldn't, and he'd be forced to start over, while everyone in this room watched him be treated like a problem for daring to exist in pain. Kendra's screen glowed brighter as a new window opened. Megan leaned in. Jordan stood perfectly still, shoulder aching, eyes fixed on the desk as if he could will the truth into view. And then Kendra froze, just for a second. But Jordan saw it, the tiny pause that meant she'd found something she hadn't wanted to find. Megan's eyebrows lifted. What is it? Kendra swallowed. There's a message thread. Jordan's breath caught, slow and quiet. Megan's voice sharpened. Load it. Kendra clicked, A spinning icon appeared on the monitor, reflected faintly in the glossy desk surface. Jordan watched that tiny circle turn, and he felt a strange clarity settle in his chest. People could deny you, but the record, if it existed, couldn't. The thread was loading, and with it, the truth. The little spinning circle on Kendra's monitor turned like it had all the time in the world. Jordan stood at the counter and watched it with a focus that felt almost unreal. His shoulder ached in slow waves, but the pain had become background noise compared to the tight, sharp tension in his chest. Behind him, the waiting room had gone quieter, not silent, but attentive in that careful way people get when they sense a scene and don't want to admit they're watching it. Megan leaned forward, one hand braced on the desk edge. Her badge caught the fluorescent light with every slight movement. Kendra clicked again, impatient. The system hesitated. A loading bar appeared, then vanished. Then, finally, a window populated with text, a series of messages, time-stamped entries in the clinic's electronic health record system. Jordan couldn't read the content from where he stood, but he saw Megan's eyes narrow as they tracked the topmost line. And he saw Kendra's posture change. It was subtle. Her shoulders drew in, as if she wanted to become smaller. Her lips pressed tight. The confident stiffness she'd had earlier, no referral, end of story, started to crack. Megan's voice dropped. Scroll. Kendra's mouse wheel moved. A new line slid into view. Megan's expression hardened. Stop. Kendra stopped. Megan read silently for a moment, jaw set, eyes flicking side to side as she followed the text. Then she looked up at Kendra, and her voice sharpened like a blade finally finding its edge. It's here, Megan said. Jordan felt his breath catch, slow and controlled. Kendra blinked, like she wanted the screen to say something else. Megan tapped the monitor with a finger. Referral message thread. Sent from Dr. Priya Nandakumar's office 2 weeks ago. Attached order. And, she paused, it includes authorization details. Jordan's stomach loosened slightly, as if a knot had been cut. He kept his voice steady. So, the referral exists. Megan didn't look at him yet. Her eyes stayed on Kendra. Yes, it exists. Kendra's cheeks flushed, red climbing upward as if her skin was betraying her. I didn't see it. Megan's gaze remained pinned. You didn't look. Kendra's mouth opened, then shut. Jordan felt a cold kind of clarity settle into him. Not triumph. Something more sobering. Because this wasn't a glitch. This wasn't the system. This was a choice that had almost sent him back out the door. Megan finally turned toward Jordan, and her expression softened by a degree. Not warm, exactly, but human. Mr. Miles, she said, using his name properly for the first time. I'm sorry. We do have your referral. You should have been checked in immediately. Jordan nodded once. Thank you. But the relief didn't erase the sting. His shoulder still hurt. His time was still wasted. And he'd still had to stand here proving his reality while a room full of strangers listened. Megan straightened and spoke in a voice meant to carry. Professional, controlled, but clearly corrective. Kendra, she said, check him in. Kendra's fingers moved quickly now, all brisk compliance. Click, type, click. Her earlier confidence had turned into frantic efficiency. Jordan watched the transformation with a tightness in his jaw. It was strange how quickly the tone changed once the thread loaded. How quickly Jordan shifted from problem to patient the moment the system confirmed he belonged. Kendra slid a clipboard toward him. Please fill these out. Jordan took it, then paused. He looked at the forms, then back at Kendra, then at Megan. I need to ask something, Jordan said quietly. Megan's eyes met his. Go ahead. Jordan kept his voice calm. If the message thread hadn't loaded, if it stayed stuck, Would you have turned me away? Megan didn't answer right away. For a moment, the fluorescent buzz felt louder, the TV murmuring about wellness like an insult. Then Megan said carefully, "We would have asked your primary care office to resend it." Jordan held her gaze. "Meaning you would have rescheduled me?" Megan's mouth tightened slightly. "Possibly." Jordan nodded slowly. "So the difference between me being seen today and me being pushed out for weeks is whether someone clicks the right tab." Kendra's typing stopped for half a second. Megan's expression sharpened, not at Jordan, at the truth in what he said. "You're right," Megan admitted. "It shouldn't work like that." Jordan's shoulder pulsed as if agreeing. Behind him, someone shifted in their chair. A soft cough, a sneaker squeak against tile. People were still listening, more openly now, because it was clear this wasn't just a routine check-in issue. Jordan lowered his voice slightly, not to hide, but because he didn't want this to become performance. "This has happened to me before," he said. "In other places, different desks, different systems, same outcome. I'm told I don't have what I know I have until proof appears on a screen." Megan's eyes stayed on him, and Jordan could see something pass through her expression. Recognition, discomfort, maybe both. Kendra muttered under her breath, "It was just—" Megan cut her off without looking away from Jordan. "No, it wasn't just anything." Kendra went still. Megan turned to her then, voice low but firm. "When a patient says a referral was sent, you check the chart, the whole chart, orders, communications, attachments. You don't make them beg for the system to validate them." Kendra's cheeks reddened again. "I thought it wasn't there." Megan's eyes narrowed. "And you made that his problem?" Jordan's chest tightened, not because Megan was defending him, but because he wished she didn't have to. He didn't want a champion. He wanted a normal check-in. Megan turned back to Jordan. "I'm going to add a note to your encounter about what happened," she said. "And I'm going to escalate this to the clinic manager. You shouldn't have been treated that way." Jordan nodded, grateful, but still guarded. "Thank you." Kendra finished typing and forced a thin smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Please have a seat. They'll call you soon." Jordan took the clipboard and pen. He moved toward an open chair near the wall, close enough to the desk that he didn't feel like he was being sent away, far enough that he could breathe. As he sat, he felt his shoulder flare sharply. He winced before he could stop himself. Across the room, the older woman with the floral scarf watched him with a faint crease between her brows, something like concern. The young couple looked away quickly. The man in the fleece vest kept his eyes on his phone, but Jordan could tell he was no longer scrolling. Jordan filled out the forms with his left hand. Name, address, insurance, emergency contact. Every stroke of the pen tugged at his shoulder, but he kept writing. He was stubborn like that. A door down the hallway opened. A nurse appeared, white woman, early 30s, scrubs and a tablet. Her badge read, "Shelby, Orthopedics." "Jordan Miles," Shelby called. Jordan stood carefully, rolling his shoulder just enough to keep the joint from locking. He walked toward her, clipboard in hand. Shelby smiled politely. "Come on back." Jordan followed her through the hallway, past closed doors and muted voices, the scent of antiseptic and hand sanitizer growing stronger. As they walked, Shelby glanced at her tablet. "Looks like you're here for a shoulder injury." "Yes," Jordan said. "Any imaging yet? X-ray? MRI?" "Not yet," Jordan replied. "My primary care doctor sent me here to start the process." Shelby nodded. Then she hesitated, eyes on the tablet again. Jordan noticed. "What is it?" Shelby's smile tightened slightly. "Nothing. Just one moment." She stopped at a workstation and tapped her screen, then frowned. Jordan's chest tightened again. That old reflex. Shelby looked up. It says you were pending referral at check-in. Jordan felt a sharp spark of anger. It wasn't pending. Shelby blinked. Sorry. Jordan swallowed, forcing his voice back down. The referral was there. Front desk didn't open the message thread until the supervisor told them to. Shelby's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise and discomfort. Oh. Jordan could hear his own breathing now. Slow in, slow out. He refused to let this become another moment where he looked like the problem for stating facts. Shelby recovered quickly, professional mask back in place. Okay, thank you for telling me. Let's get you in a room. She led him into an exam room with pale walls and a paper-covered table. Jordan sat carefully, setting his bag on the floor. Shelby took his vitals, asked standard questions, typed. Then she paused again, eyes on her tablet, and lowered her voice. I'm glad you advocated for yourself, Shelby said. Jordan met her gaze. I shouldn't have to. Shelby nodded once. You're right. There was a knock at the door. A doctor entered. White man, mid-40s, calm posture, a warm smile that looked real. His badge read, Dr. Harris. Orthopedics. Jordan, Dr. Harris said. I'm Dr. Harris. I'm sorry you're dealing with this shoulder pain. Let's take a look. Jordan nodded. Thanks. Doctor. Harris washed his hands, then turned toward Jordan with focused attention. The kind of attention Jordan wished he'd gotten at the front desk without needing a supervisor. Dr. Harris began the exam, range of motion tests, gentle pressure points, questions about the injury. Jordan answered carefully, wincing when necessary, breathing through the sharp spots. Halfway through, Dr. Harris paused. I see a note here that there was an issue at check-in. Jordan looked at him. There was. Dr. Harris's expression tightened with concern. Tell me what happened. Jordan hesitated, then chose his words with the same careful precision he'd used at the front desk. The receptionist said I had no referral. I told her my doctor sent it. I asked her to open the EHR message thread, because referrals are sometimes attached there. She refused until a supervisor came. The thread loaded, and the referral was there the whole time. Dr. Harris went still for a beat, then nodded slowly. That's not acceptable, he said simply. Jordan felt something shift inside him, small but important. Not because Dr. Harris was angry on his behalf, but because he said it like it was a fact, not a debate. Dr. Harris continued the exam, then stepped back. Here's what we'll do, he said. We'll get imaging started, X-ray today, and likely an MRI depending on what we see. We'll treat your pain and get you a plan. Jordan exhaled, the first real exhale of the day. Okay, Dr. Harris smiled gently. And separately, he added, I'm going to speak to the clinic manager about the front desk issue. You shouldn't have had to fight to be seen. Jordan nodded. His throat felt tight, but in a different way now, because the truth had loaded. And once it did, the story changed. Not because Jordan changed, because the system was finally forced to acknowledge he'd been right all along.